Hello and happy December 8th. I am coming to you today, Crystal Kirchen, Psychic Medium. I am coming to you today to talk a little bit about a spiritual healing. I have many clients that come to me, and when they come, as soon as we sit down and I say my speech and spirit starts to channel, they tell me that their loved one doesn't really need messages from them. What they actually need is a healing. And what I do is I shut down the session right there and I stop my tape and I tell them, hey, it's great that you're here and I appreciate it so much, but you actually don't really need me. What you need is a healing to help heal some of the stuff that has caused you to be here to begin with. And most of the time, people don't even know why they're coming. They just know that they need to be here. So it's not necessarily to speak to anybody. They just don't know what it is that they're looking for in life. And that's when their guides or their loved ones will say they actually need healing. And I shut it down. I tell them, I can't take your money because you're not in need of, spiritual stuff today. What you're in need of is some filling of the yuck in you. So from there on, I give them Pat Longo's information and I send them to Pat. Now, many people then ask me, what is a spiritual healing and what can I expect? And I always try to tell people the best way that I can. But I don't know what a healing is through Pat's perspective, the person who actually does the spiritual healing. I only know what a healing is through my perspective and what happened with me when I had it done and how it's transformed my life into who I am today. So that's kind of what I'm going to talk about today. It's not necessarily what a healing is through Pat's perspective. It's a healing through Crystal's perspective because I've had one done and obviously it worked wonders on me because I'm here today. So when I first contacted Pat, most of you know that I contacted her because I had had a traumatic experience take place after touring the Jackson prison in Jackson, Michigan. After that had happened, I knew on the way home, because I had worked in the medical field, that if I would have went to a doctor, a physician, they would have tried to put me on medication for depression, anxiety, something, because what I had experienced was pretty weird. So I knew at that moment that that's not what I needed. I was guided at that moment in time to contact somebody who did more of a spiritual healing because I figured that that's what I needed. I needed something a little bit more spiritual. So I emailed a ton of spiritual healers. I emailed everybody who popped up on that very first Google page, and nobody contacted me back. Actually, it was about a week before somebody got back a hold of me, and the person that contacted me back was Pat Longo from New York. And when she contacted me back, I talked to her sister. She very much assured me that I wasn't crazy, what I was experiencing was real, and that they would be giving me a call back to schedule a healing with them. Now, I didn't ask what a healing was because I just knew that I needed something. So really at that point, it was like an end of a rope for me. I was just going to go with it. But when they set up the appointment and I talked to Pat and I'm on the phone with her, one of the first questions that she asked me is, what was a tragedy that happened in your life? And I remember kind of pausing, like, tragedy? I haven't really had any tragedies happen in my life, because what happens as we grow up, all of these crazy things that happen to us, we just look at it like, oh, everybody else has been through this, so whatever. Not the case. Just because it's not a tragedy to somebody else doesn't mean that it wasn't a tragedy to you. So I didn't get that when I was doing the healing. Also, it's good to note that Pat is not a medium. I do not think she connects with spirit the same way that I do. I know that my guides will connect with her and give her kind of some stuff, but I don't think she connects with spirit the same way that I do. So don't expect her to know everything. If you go to her for a healing or you contact her for a healing, you're going to have to, in the email, tell her what it is that you have experienced, what you feel, and why you're contacting her, and be as specific as possible, because that's going to determine the amount of time it takes for her to contact you back and get you in. She's a very busy woman nowadays, and she gets to everybody, but if somebody is feeling suicidal, she's going to get them in before somebody who's going through an experience like me. There are emergencies, just like a physician's office or a doctor's office or an emergency room. So she'll try her best, but it might not be like immediately. She's very busy. She tries so hard. But anyway, as we went in this healing, she asked me so many things. Like, she asked me so many things, I can't even remember all that they were. But during the actual healing, she told me to tell her if I saw any different colors or any lights or anything like that. And I can't remember, I don't think I saw any colors. I may have saw a few. I'm hearing green. So I think maybe I saw green. And what those do is those will connect with the chakras. And like the chakras have different colors, different meanings, blah, blah, blah. And so, she was connecting with those things. And like I said, I don't know what Pat does. I know what I feel. And during that healing, I'm going to be very honest with you because I've been very honest with her. I didn't feel nothing. I actually felt nothing during that healing, and I feel like it's probably because I had gotten to a point in my life where I had pushed so much away because I'm an empathic person. I'm an empath. I feel every feeling. I not only feel my own feelings, but I also feel everybody else's that comes into contact with me. And at that point in life, I had had enough. So I put this huge wall up in front of myself so I didn't have to feel my own feelings and nobody else's feelings as well. So during that healing, like I said, no bells and whistles, nothing sounded. I didn't feel like a new changed person in the end. She did tell me that I was a medium, and I kind of thought, sorry, Pat, but I kind of thought she was nuts because I was like, okay, whatever, I'm a medium. I kind of should have known that because, like I've stated before, I've seen spirits since I can remember. I've seen them forever. I just could not talk to them because I didn't know how to channel that. There was that gap that was missing in my life. So after the healing with Pat, after I got off the phone with her, I kind of looked at my husband and was like, so she said I'm a medium. And he had the same look on his face that I had on my face, like, okay, whatever. A different tour down the crazy path, I guess, because at that moment in time, I thought that I was like, okay, off my rockers. But after that happened, she had sent me the homework. When I got the homework, I looked at the homework and I was like, okay, what is this? How do I use this? This doesn't really say anything because it's about letting go of negativity and bringing more positive things into your life. It's not very specific. It's not like a math book you open up and it's like got these equations, and it's not that type of homework. The homework is literally dependent on you and how much work you put into it. And it doesn't give you any like, here's what you do, this is how you do it. There's nothing. You have to put forth the work yourself. So it took me about 2 months, 2.5 months before I got on board with this homework stuff. And because I had had so many things happen in my life at that time, my guides were really trying to open me up and my guides were really trying to get me back on the right path. So during that time, everything that could have went wrong for me probably went wrong in my life at that moment. And it's because I was in such a place of negativity and people say negativity and you think of these like huge horrible monsters out there, and that's not really what it was. I hated myself more than I hated anything else on this earth. I mean, it was me. All of the frustrations and everything that I had to deal with in life, it went back on me. I hated myself. When I looked in the mirror, I despised who I saw as a person. And it had really nothing to do with like how I treated people necessarily, because yes, I've done really crappy things just like everybody else. I made fun of people. I wasn't the nicest person sometimes. I blew people off. I wasn't the greatest friend. I lied and said I can't be there when really I could have been there. But I've never been in trouble with the law. I've never went out and purposely like broke people's hearts. I've never done anything like that. Most of the damage that was done and that I was doing in life, I was doing to myself. And so I was beating myself up at that point in time. So every single thing in my life that could have went wrong was a direct reflection on how I felt about me, myself. So it got to a point, and one day I woke up and I said, I'm done. I actually remember I broke down that day. I went into the bathroom and I'm crying. I've got my ugly face on, and I look in the mirror with my ugly face, and I said, Crystal, I'm done. I'm done feeling bad. I'm done hating myself. I'm done with the negativity. And sorry, there's a trash truck outside. You guys can probably hear that. Great time for them to come. But I was done with it all. I snapped for the better. So that day, I actually picked up the homework that she got me. I printed it off the computer. I went back through and I found it. And I started doing the house blessings that she told me to do and the house cleansings to get the negative stuff out of my house. And kind of helped me along a little bit. And then I started trying to, do the grounding and start working on myself as a person. Now, as things have went, like I said, it wasn't easy at first. And I always tell people that changing yourself and being a more positive person isn't an easy task. And it's not an easy task because you've told yourself that things suck. You have to retrain your brain. You have to tell your brain to stop it. Don't allow your brain to think when it comes to certain things, because 9 times out of 10 it's wrong. And I always tell people you're going to hear way more with your heart than you hear with your ears, because with your ears, you're taking in what the words are. You're not taking in the emotion and the feeling behind the words. You're hearing what you want to hear because your brain is telling you what you want to let in. It's no different than if you go for a job interview and you talk yourself out of it before you even get there because you see somebody sitting that looks like they have, sitting in the waiting room that looks like they have way more experience. You've already shot yourself down because your brain has told you that you aren't going to get this job because they're better suited for it than you. What makes that possible? How does your brain know that? How does your brain know that you are not suited for this position? It doesn't. Allow your heart to do the talking, allow your heart to do the thinking. And so, like I said, we're getting to the healing part, like what it is today, now. So when I actually had the healing, I felt really nothing. And it wasn't until probably about 6 months ago that I realized what the healing was, what the process is, and what had happened to me. And that's because my guides finally had told me, hey, this is what it was, because there's been a huge change in my life. Something happened that day that I didn't realize had happened, and it was kind of huge. So what I tell people is, obviously had a whole lot of work to do, a whole lot of canceling to do, a whole lot of shutting this thing up and retraining myself to not speak. Telling my brain, just knock it off. You aren't going to speak to me like that. You aren't going to let other people speak to me like that, and it's telling myself that I'm worth it. So after 2 years of working on me, and I'm so far from perfect. I'm so not perfect. I still have so many things that I need to work on, and you're going to constantly grow. You're going to constantly change throughout your whole entire life. This process is about learning, growing, and moving forward. We're all crazy people. We all have had crap stuff happen to us in our lives, and our job is to just move forward, let go of the baggage, and realize that we're much better than what we realize as people, and to love, 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 and share that love with many people. So getting to today, and about the 6-month change that I speak of, the healing. This is how I explained it to Pat through my eyes. When I had that healing that day, the reason I felt nothing was because what they did was they took all that stuff that I had, the family issues that I had from growing up, the hate issues that I had in myself because I didn't feel like I was good enough, the guilt that I had over not succeeding the way that I wanted to succeed, the guilt that I had over my ex-husband and how I allowed things to progress and the way he treated my child in the relationship. There were so many things that I carried throughout my life. You gotta come to a point and realize that the only reason you feel this way is not because of the person that so-called caused the pain. It's because of how you've taken it in and you've carried it along the way. So people are going to treat you like crap in your life, and people are going to mistreat you, and they're going to do bad things to you, but understanding that their actions are not because of you is the hugest thing to learn on this planet. People will come and go, they will walk on you, they will treat you badly, and they will, do devastating things to your heart and your soul. But the way you take it in is how it sticks. I've come to a point in my life where I realize that just because somebody comes in and they treat me this way doesn't mean, it has nothing to do with me. It has to do with the issues and problems that they have as a person and how they have a hard time loving, or they have a hard time caring about themselves. It has nothing to do with Crystal. And that's a better way for you to learn to let go. But what I told Pat is what I feel happened that day is that God came and He filled all of those tiny little issues that I had taken and carried in my backpack of life. He had taken the guilt, the trust, the hatred, the loathing, the self stuff that I felt. He took all those things and He filled every one of those issues and problems with white light and healing. Every single one of those He took and He infused with His healing, beauty, white light, natural powers. His spirit energy. That's what God did that day for me. And the reason I may not have felt it is because I had closed myself off to feeling anything. But as time went, I realized what it was that he did. And that day that he shared that energy with me, that white light with me, and he took all these little issues and all these little problems and he healed them in me. It was my job to keep them filled with light. It's your job to keep your life filled with light. You can have a million healings done, but if you don't do the homework and you don't try to make the changes and you don't keep the light within those issues, and you allow yourself to slide back into old habits, then it's not going to work. It's not going to have that effect on you that it has on me and it's had on other people. It's all about how you take it in, and it's all about how you keep it going. There's something called free will, peeps, and if you don't keep it in and you don't allow it to be part of your life, God can't force it on you. That's just not something that the great universe or the universal energy or whoever you think God is, that spirit, that great spirit, he can't force us to do anything in life. He can't force us to keep it within ourselves. He can hope like Hades that once he fills us with that light and that love and that healing, that we will embrace that beautiful gift that he's given us and we will keep those things filled within us, but he can't force it on us. And that's what I've learned throughout this journey and along this time, that a spiritual healing is taking the light of God, that beautiful warm energy, that healing warmth, and he's healing the spots in me that needed to be healed. It was then Crystal's job. He gave me the tools. It was Crystal's job then to go from there and use them. You can come to me a million times asking, how do I do this? How do I do this? And there just comes a point in time where I can't help you anymore. You've got to get on board and help yourself. Just like with Pat. Pat didn't talk to me afterwards for a while because I kept asking her, well, how do I do this? How do I do this? And there was a reason. I had to figure it out for myself. God helps those who help themselves. Yes, he's a part of our lives. He fills us with joy. He blesses us on a daily basis a million different ways. But the thing is that if we don't take it in ourselves and we don't learn ourselves, and we don't keep it for ourselves, he can't force it on us. And so your job after a healing is to keep that light into all of those little situations. And if for some reason you get to a point where you just feel like it's not sticking, like you're having such a difficult time with it after the healing, what I used to do is I used to meditate. And when I would meditate, like if I was really angry about something that had happened to me or whatever, when I meditated, I would see the angels standing around me, and I would thank the angels for taking the darkness and the hate that I felt towards this situation and or a certain person, and I would ask them to take that from my soul, fill that hole with light, and ask them to help me heal from the situation. Always give it light. Always give it light. You can't just take something and leave it blank. You have to refill that space with light. So if you're having a particularly hard time doing something in your life and healing from a certain situation, sit down and thank your angels. Your angels work with God. They're direct messengers from God. They get everything from God's energy. So ask the angels that surround you to take whatever it is that you're feeling, take it out, fill it with light, imagine it, see it happening, see it take place, and then after that, thank them and ask them for it to be for the highest good of all concerned. Because this life is about all of us here on this planet. It's not about one person. It's not about Crystal. It's about every single person on this planet and how God can touch every single one of us through the love, the healing, the light, the energy, the peace that deserves to be on this planet. That's what this is about. It's a huge picture, and we have to stop seeing, like Spirit always says, I saw life through, blinders, but there's so much out here that we have a hard time seeing. And it's because we're not seeing it with our heart, we're seeing it with our eyes. Open your heart, guys. Allow in the healing. There's so much healing energy that's being sent and gifted out there right now. Allow in that healing energy. And if you ever feel like you're in such a bad place and you need to take that step and you need to have a healing done like I had done, I would recommend Pat Longo any day of the year, every day, twice a day, 5 times, because she is such a beautiful gift to this world. And she doesn't just touch the people that she contacts with. She touches people through the things that she's taught every person that's come into her contact. If it wasn't for Pat, I wouldn't be here making this video now. That was the healing that took place. It's not only through me that happened to me, it's affecting every person that I come into contact with. Because through those things, through those beautiful things that I've been given by God through Pat, I'm able to channel through to other people. So just look at it that way. A healing is the light that fills your soul, and it's your job to keep the light. So I hope this helps a little bit, so when I tell you that you need a healing taking place instead of a reading, you don't look at me like I'm crazy. I get that all the time. It's okay, you can think I'm crazy, but other than that, I hope this helps a lot, and I just offer the most beautiful, warm, healing warmth to every single person on this planet, every person that is watching this video. I thank you right now for taking the time to watch it, and I ask your angels right now to fill your heart with God's white light, love, and healing energy so that you're blanketed by the warmth of your loved ones on the other side and God's great energy, okay? And I ask for this to be for the highest good of all concerned. I love you all greatly. You are all beautiful souls, and you all deserve the healing and the happiness that every single person on this earth should have. Much love, much light to every single one of you. You are beautiful people, and I hope you all have very, very, very happy holidays. You're fantastic. I love you. Thank you for watching the video. Once again, crystalkirchen.com. Love you. Bye.